Okay, so we're kind of back. This time we're in Ted's backyard. You guys will notice behind Ted on his right shoulder that there's a whiteboard back there. Now, I know right now you can't read it, but it was a project that I kind of threw onto Ted, and he said, "Are you kidding me?" And on the left side of the board, so Ted will point to that really quick, to the left side.
Left side.
Yep, my left.
Your left.
My left.
Your left is...
My left is over here where it says board performances.
You can see how
Yep,
this
and the
is
right
gonna
side
go.
of the board to me is on the other side. So we started our last episode talking about tilt and being aligned to the snowboard. So that drew Ted into getting a kind of a schematic diagram of how he feels about snowboarding. So I'm going to move in on the board and I'm going to let Ted talk.
This is sort of a representation of the chaos of my mind. We know that we start out and we talked about board performances. So we had tilt and twist and pivot, pressure, bending are the 4 board performances. And the body flexes and extends. The body rotates. And this is something that I picked up early on. Counter rotate is the opposite of that. It's also anatomically called a circumduction.
Which
So-
means circular to those of you folks on the other side of that.
which works like a ball and socket joint, but you think of a ball and socket joint, you have the rotation, but you also have angles
Okay.
that end up happening. So they happen together and it's complex. So
right.
it's 2 things happen at the same time.
And why we're trying to do this is because we're trying to make you guys understand that finding the pieces to the performance of the board and having you then relate them to your body movements the best you can. And as you start out, those movements will be more minimal and be not as noticeable. And that, of course, comes from snow conditions and not having the experience ahead of time. And it also comes from the older you are, the more you're thinking about, doggone it, this is going to hurt when I fall. And that's called fear. And that's a real part of learning to snowboard.
We didn't
So,
put that on here.
I shut up right now and Ted will go.
Okay, so what ends up happening is, let's say as I'm learning this and I'm getting instruction and somebody says tilt the board. Well, do they explain what that's going to do?
So what will that do?
And what that will do is it's going to engage some kind of edge.
So we learned edging early.
And there's something to edge, and it's going to engage maybe a toe, maybe a heel. So you got to know where your toe is and your heel is. You think that's funny, but that's true. And then it's going to turn
Because
you tilted
side cut on the edge.
and then now you can see that. And if you do these things with your body while you do this with the board, and there are several of those combinations, you get results.
Correct.
And the way, again, with my thinking, is that I think of one of these, then I think of the things that I think of that are connected to it,
Okay.
and then can I do anything with that? Can I change one element, make the ride work?
Okay.
Can I change 2 things, or am I just completely off the page and
So
going the wrong
we're
direction?
going to jump back to the board performances. So to keep it simple, we wanted you aligned to the board, sliding straight to a natural stop. We then wanted you to tip a little bit across what joint?
Ankle?
The ankle joint primarily, because that's very minimal. And once we start to feel comfortable with that, we can start to take the board from that tilted position to a twist. And that twist will start with actions of your foot, ankle, knees, all 3 or 1. And it's no different than, kind of standing with a nail through your foot and only being able to pivot your foot left and right, little toe side, big toe side. And that twist will engage the edge earlier than waiting for the middle of the board to start it.
The twist will also be a sequential series of moves that you do with your body following.
It can be sequential, it can be independent.
It can, or independent, yes,
Yes.
but not simultaneous.
Yes, right,
And
right.
so the tilt was simultaneous. So yeah, there you go. So
Okay. So after we've kind of got the board performance for a little tilt, a little twist, enjoying ourselves, coming to a stop, going across the hill or something. We're not going to say J turns S turn, but coming across the hill, the line of travel, the board will come to a stop. Okay, provided you have twisted it enough to come across the hill instead of straight down.
Right.
Okay, so we know that edge engagement in the early time with the tilt and the twist is usually minimal. So what we end up having the board do, we're still on board performance, is what, Ted? We end up doing what? Skidding more through what?
That's the pivot.
The pivot, yep.
And that,
so jump on that a minute.
So the pivot, when you think you're going to pivot, if you pivoted from the middle of the board, you would probably have to have some really nice reverse camber in the center.
Well, that definitely helps that.
Yeah.
So board designs is coming in here.
So there
isn't
we
it?
go with the designs, but that's the pivot in the middle. So that's up in the middle and around in a circle.
Or down in the middle,
Or down in
reverse
the middle.
camber.
Yeah.
Big time spin.
If you press up on the nose and, focus on the nose and take it off of the rest of the board, somebody could pick up the back of the board and spin you around on the nose.
And Ted knows that because,
I know that now.
because we did that in my garage.
And that, I think it's called a nose roll.
It would be a nose press, a nose roll.
Nose
sure.
roll. Nose. And then if you did the reverse of that and did it onto the rear leg and you kind of tried to draw your front foot up and cork it around.
Tail press.
That tail press.
And the two together, you're ollieing.
Yeah. There you go for an ollie.
Searching for all this stuff, it shows you that you as a person have all of these capabilities because you can bend down, you can stand up higher,
Right.
and you can already rotate. So in a lesson, this stuff becomes overwhelming because the instructors talk about a little bit different than we are now. And then they'll say, get more weight on your front foot and blah, 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 blah. And then when you do that, make sure that you're looking blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you mix two pieces together. You mix two of the wrong pieces together.
You get too much information, basically.
Yeah.
It's like taking a big bite of a muffin and somebody asking you to talk but don't swallow yet. Okay, and that's really where lessons tend to go a lot. So we're looking at that, and then we get into the pressure moves, which would be moving fore and aft and across, all through the length of the board, all across different parts of the board. Now you're moving up, you're getting into the intermediate and advanced stages, but we're not going there yet. So hopefully you guys will find this helpful. This is a schematic, and we're not going to run through it piece by piece, even though Ted put a lot of work in that.
No,
And we're going to stop, and that's it for that one. So
Okay.
we hope that you guys will come back and look at this one. And what we're saying is, we're not saying that we're telling you this is the only thing you can do and this is the only way you can do it and this is what you've got to do. We're not saying that. What we're saying is that we want you to be aware of what's happening to your board and how it affects you, how you affect the board, and have a nice day. That's what we're saying. A lot of times in lessons, they're telling you, you came here to be just like me, cool, like a snowboard instructor, right? Or like my great-great-grandfather, who's so cool, even though he gave you an 8-foot board and you only stand 2 feet tall. And these things are all things that happen too. So stay with us, string us along a little bit. But we want conversation, and we're getting it, and people are talking to us, and we're talking back. And actually, it's great, and we're happy to be here to serve you people. So we're out on that.